Why is it that Reggie Wright Jr. has no respect for the people that if it weren't for them, Snoop, Dre, Tupac, Suge, Daz, DJ Quick, nobody would even know who Reggie Wright Jr. is? This game is about respect. And it really costs you nothing, but it'll take you a long way. Let me get into some of this straight game.
Life is like the cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy DELRAY Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. Thank you for tuning in once again. I appreciate your time. Do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and tell a friend. But more importantly, like I always say, if you're new to the channel and this is your first time watching it, if you want to be notified when I drop some of this straight game, please do me a favor and hit that bell notification right below this video. I'm going to get right into it. I had a question that was posed to me from a brother from Oakland, California. And he had heard the recent information that I had been using basically to expose Reggie Wright Jr. And he asked me a very poignant question. And the question was, he said, DELRAY, what do you think about Reggie Wright overall, right? And I thought about that. Based on he was saying that Reggie Wright made some kind of accusation in reference to me being gay, and reference to him attacking me before I even knew who he was from that perspective, or was up on, like the Bomb First channel and all of that. Like I said, once again, Reggie Wright came at me first, right? So when you come at me, from that perspective, and you've left yourself out there to be exposed because you've lied, you know what I mean? And people have believed that you've done things, and which I've proven, from the Tupac situation, and all of the other things that I brung up, him being fired, him calling Suge a snitch, and then 1 minute he wants to act like he wants to defend Suge, the next minute Suge is a snitch and tried to set him up and tried to set, all of these other people up and so on and so forth. You got to understand a guy like Reggie Wright Jr., he's really loyal to nothing. He's really loyal to nobody. If you paying him, he'll say whatever you need him to say. So that's what I honestly, truly think about him. But more importantly than that, when you think about it, and I'm as the people who subscribe to my channel, I really appreciate you guys. Even the people who come on, over from Reggie's platform, over from Bomb First, and, talking about, yeah, I like your content, but I don't like how you try to discredit Reggie. You have no context. And then some of y'all may have context, but they just don't like the way that it's turned out. When he was saying stuff about me, I seen these same people over there in Reggie's comments talking about, yeah, get him. Yeah, he a groupie. Yeah, he's this, that, and the other, right? But when I started to bring them hardcore facts along with the documentation, because it beats out any frivolous conversation, they started to pay attention. And then now it's like I have to wake up because now I've been informed. But I want to say this. You hear Reggie Wright talk about Snoop, all of the things that I've known Snoop to do, the football league, the people that he's helped, the people that he's kept out of jail, gangs, all of those things, coming up how he came up, you know what I mean? It's commendable, right? Being with the same woman for all of these years, it's an example of what a man's supposed to be doing, taking care of his kids and all of those things. That's a positive example for somebody who's in the public stratosphere, if you will, or should I say who's elevated as a celebrity figure and so on and so forth. But none of us are perfect. But for the most part, all of those examples that I just gave, Snoop has exemplified, right? Then you got Dr. Dre and all of the other people that help establish Death Row to make it the name that it is today. Like I said, Tupac, Dre, the Dog Pound, Nate Dogg, rest in peace. You had people like DJ Quick working over there. You know what I mean? And all of these guys, these people have real talent. These people were the true assets that made Death Row worth anything, if you want to be perfectly honest. Because without that talent, you don't have anything. You don't have nothing to sell, nothing to promote, and nothing to market, right? So when Reggie Wright started to attack me, I began to listen to some of the stuff that he was saying about other people, about Mary J. Blige, about all of these other people, right? And it was basically information that he was never there to actually witness himself. It was something that somebody told him, shared with him, and so on and so forth, right? And so what you got to understand is there should be more gratitude and appreciation, because without those people, you don't know who Reggie Wright Jr. is, right? You don't. And Suge Knight, right? So you would think that he would take a little bit more time and be a little bit more discerning about some of the stuff that he would say about people. You understand what I'm saying? Because you've rarely, if ever, heard any of these people ever mention Reggie Wright Jr.'s name at all. So if you understand the mathematics of it, right? It would be more favorable for Reggie to say something about them, because these people have developed a career, have created a legacy, music, movies, television, and so on and so forth, right? So if you can catch on to what's been really going on, it's like let me talk about these people because this is what's going to bring me viewership, even if what I'm saying is not even true. And you know the sad part about that? You have some people that love it. And I can't really wrap my mind around why somebody would love something like that if it wasn't even coming from a firsthand experience, if you will, right? So now, without all of those people that I just named, right? Reggie Wright Jr. wouldn't even have nothing to talk about. And you've rarely heard him say, he may say like, oh, I like Snoop, he my favorite rapper, or such and such, and so on and so forth, and say certain things about Snoop. Like I said, speaking on, his personal life and things like that, things that Reggie really didn't know. You know what I mean? And the stuff that he did know, like I said, about Daz, about, even Suge, like I said, if it wasn't for Suge giving him a job, and now it's like, Suge is the worst guy in the world. But I got to say this. Let's be honest. Suge just got his movie rights sold to his life, right? If Suge is completely honest about, the stuff that he's released and the things that he's talked about, and I ain't talking about the Tupac still alive and all of that. You know what I mean? I think Suge be capping on a lot of that stuff and whatever have you. But the pertinent stuff about in regards to how he told Reggie Wright, to send 5 more security guards and Reggie Wright didn't, about that night, about Reggie Wright being fired, about all of those things, right? You're going to see probably one of the best Death Row movies you ever saw. You're going to see the truth. You're going to see the facts. Talking about Harry O and how he got the money from them. Talking about how that picture, which Suge Knight went to the to MDC to see Harry O with him, Suge and Harry O and Lydia Harris in that picture, right? You're going to see the true story and probably one of the best death row movies or movies dealing with death row, Tupac, and all of that stuff that you've ever seen before. But I don't think it's going to paint Reggie Wright in a favorable light, if you will. Right? You understand what I'm saying? So what he was hoping for and what the reality is, and some of the stuff that I revealed to you guys, right, is two totally different things. And so I say once again, when you understand and you deal with the facts, of the matter, you got to be careful about how you talk about people. You know what I mean? Because like I said, if it weren't for none of those people, if it weren't for Tupac, right? If it wasn't for Snoop, if it wasn't for Suge, we wouldn't even know who Reggie Wright was. But yet and still, he still finds the audacity to talk about these people unfavorably. Now, we know that nobody's perfect, right? And then once he comes to the real, and I also got to mention Danny Boy, because I seen the video of on Vlad where Reggie talks about how he felt bad about exposing Danny Boy and so on and so forth, right? But then one minute he wants to say something crazy about him, and then the next minute he wants to buddy up with you. Like, how do they do? I mean, where do they do that at? I mean, you can't say nothing bad about me and insinuate, like I say, he insinuated that something about me gay. Like, are you kidding me? I've been with the same woman for damn near 30 years. Right? So when you say that, now you picture you paint yourself in the corner, and you paint a portrait and a picture of yourself as a liar, as someone who will say anything trying to disparage someone to get the people who like that kind of garbage to respond to what you're doing on your YouTube channel. Right? But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, you've burned every possible bridge that you could have had of people that could have helped you. You understand what I'm saying? And so it really doesn't make sense in the bigger picture, right? So when people, you got to be careful, like the stuff that you support. It's cool at 1 minute, but this thing is fleeting. This YouTube thing, it's one video, and then you off to the next video. Now you got to be more, you have to be more brave and more disrespectful and more incendiary than you did in your last video to try to get people to watch you, to hold on to your audience. And that's the kind of rabbit hole that I think Reggie Wright has fell into. He's speaking on Whack 100 now. He's speaking on, Jay Prince and all of that stuff. Like, you don't really know nothing about that. I mean, Whack was on, what's the name the other day? And I took it from him on CJ Mack and the Dub C show. And I'm just going to listen to what they're saying and, and soak up game just from what it is. Just like when Jay Prince was on, I'm going to listen to him, soak up game. And then now I can come to an informed decision on how I feel about what they're saying. Right? But everybody's free to talk about what they want to talk about. But I'd rather hear it from the source than hear it from a secondary non-participant in that event or in that situation. You understand what I'm saying? And so, yeah, so that's what I think about Reggie Wright Jr. You know what I mean? Truly and honestly, right? Like I said, once again, he tried to come at me because he seen that I was doing numbers over there with Art of Dialogue. It was all about jealousy. It was all about trying to come at me and then once I came back, and I'm going to come strong. You know what I mean? I kind of let it, lay for a minute. I was like, I'm not going to respond to that. But then he kept going. I'm like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? So now I got to expose you for who you really are. And I've done so. And I'll continue to do so, like I said, until he comes back and he recants and apologizes for saying the things that he said about me that are not true. You understand what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. So because when you do that, from that perspective, man, you done told me you ain't even got no morals. You're willing to do and say anything to get people to press the like button or comment on your or that garbage that you out there producing or putting out on YouTube. So that's what I want you guys to understand from me and from my perspective. I'm still gonna keep coming to give you that straight game with the documentation and the information accordingly, and dealing with various subjects. You know, not just that, but that's the reason why I did that. That's the reason why I continue to do that. You can't come out and say something about me that is totally false, unfounded, no evidence, no none of that, and disrespect me, and I not come back at you tenfold. You understand what I'm saying? So to the brother in Oakland, you know, that was a great question, man. I really appreciate that, but that's how I feel. You know, and like I say, all of the guys and the people, the names that I mentioned, if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't even know who Reggie Wright is. So what I think he should do is have a little bit more respect. But guess what? He went down a rabbit hole where respect has been out the door a long time ago. It's all about lies, insinuations, being incendiary, you know, this kind of like shock jock thing, if you will. You know, oh, when Reggie opened his eyes, you know, I know he about to go in. No, when Reggie opened his eyes, he's about to tell a lie. And that's basically what that is. Oh, John, you asked me, so you know I gotta tell it. I don't want to tell it, but you know I gotta tell it. No, you don't. But that's the rabbit hole that you've gone down. You know what I mean? And so now that you've gone down that rabbit hole, you ain't got nothing else but rabbit food to produce. And it's all good for whoever likes it. You know, if that's your hustle, go ahead. But don't speak on me, because I've never said anything about you prior to that. You were never in my radar, you know, didn't even matter, you know, none of that. You see what I'm saying? So once again, you got to be careful who you clout chase, because it might not always end up in your favor. Your boy DELRAY, straight game.